My name is Fabiola. In today's lesson, we are going to be doing live domain name registration and hosting. Before we start hosting our site or before doing anything else, let's discuss about some tangible or some important information. We're going to be using LetHostNow as a practice website. But we have different hosting companies. We have the GoDaddy, we have what the QServer in Nigeria, as Let's Host 2 is in Nigeria too. And this QServer website, you can check them out. They have what their own package too. At the same time, you can search web hosting company in Nigeria if you want to host with what Nigeria organization. We have what Google Host. We have what this is a new net-like system. Those are different what hosting company. But the one we're going to use for today is what Let Host Now. And let's check the hosting package before we start checking how to register a domain name. These are the hosting package owned by this organization, Let Host Now. And if you check the starter package, that is what I'm going to use to explain. The data package, the starter package is 400 naira per month, and in a year, which is supposed to be 4.8, is 4,000. In the sense that if you pay for a year, you pay 4,000, but when you are paying for like 3 months, you need to pay the actual amount for that month, like 4,400 in three places. Now, the main thing we're going to discuss when you are trying to host a website, things you need to have in mind is um, the storage and what the bandwidth. We can discuss about the other one and leave the others later on. But the main thing you need to check when you are hosting a website is what storage and bandwidth. Like for the starter now, you see that the storage is what 4 gig. I'm going to use other sites like QServer to explain this particular aspect. QServer, depending on the time QServer is loading. This 4 gig is the storage for our site. It's just like our what flash drive or hard disk. Let's say we have a 4 gig flash drive. If the 4 gig is filled up, what we just need to do, we have two options. The first one is either we what we reduce the file inside, or we delete some file, or we move or buy a new higher one. The same thing applicable to what our starter package. This 4 gig, when your 4 gig space for your site is filled up, it's either you delete some file that is not more useful again, or you move to this higher package, which is the business package, and it's 15 gig. One thing you should know is that, let's say your file, okay, we're going to explain that later on. The next one is what the bandwidth, which is what 10 gig. This bandwidth refresh itself every month, in the sense that in the let's say on the 15th of let's say on the 15th or on the 29th of a particular month, you have used what 9 gig bandwidth. By the first of next month, it will refresh itself back to zero, that will start counting from the beginning. It's just like our data. We have two options for our data. When you subscribe 10 gig, the 10 gig, when it finish, let's say on the 15th of a particular month, you have two options. It's either you wait for the next month to subscribe again, or you subscribe you subscribe again. You get it? Those are the two ways you can deal with that. And one thing you need to have in mind is in our hosting, if this 10 gig finish on the 15th of what of a particular month, your site will not be showing. Let's say on the 15th of a month, and you still have another 15 days. Your site will not be showing. You'll be showing what out of bandwidth. Two options you need to have is either you wait and lose a lot of traffic for the remaining 15 months for it to refresh in the beginning of next month, or you move towards a higher package that have a bandwidth of what 40 gig. This is how you can differentiate between what storage and what bandwidth. Now Now let me check what another hosting company, which they are doing what per month for their starter at what at 4,500 per year, month 450. You can see their storage is what 2 gig and what the bandwidth is what 8 gig. When you finish this bandwidth within before the month end, if you can't wait for it to refresh at the beginning of next month, you need to move to a higher package. That is just a short explanation about what bandwidth and storage. We're going to have what free SSL. Free SSL is just like a certificate. I'm going to show you. Like on this side now, you have what this key. We're going to show you that the site is secure. For my own, at the front end, it's showing that it's not fully secure, but when you move to the inner aspect, it's totally secure. At the same time, we have what MySQL database, but you didn't need to know much about that. We have what unlimited email. Unlimited email example of it, let me show you down at my website. You will see that okay, it's not here, but it's going to be at what contact us. Let me open it for you to show. Okay, for any time that is loading, I'm going to show you this unlimited email is basically an email attached to your website. Instead of you having what let host now at gmail.com, you can have support at what let host. The example of what I'm going to show you is on this site here. You can see we have what support at what let host now. You can what your site can host your what email. The same thing applicable to what subdomain. We're going to discuss more about subdomain later on when we start designing our site. For subdomain, what is basically all about is a process of where you see that when you have a site like we have lethostnow.com, you can have what different subdomain like 5 of it, blog.lethostnow.com. You can have what abelian.lethostnow.com, shop.lethostnow.com. It's just a subdomain. If you want to buy more domain name, but you just want to use or prefer to use one particular one. Now, the next thing, I'm not going to touch everything. We have what Softaculous. Softaculous is a app installer, like you can use to install your WordPress, Joomla. But we're going to get back on that when we are dealing with what cPanel. We're going to discuss about cPanel later on. We have project, we have PHP selector, we have daily backup. Now, when you are okay with a particular plan, you can click on choose plan. In some organization, theirs can be what can be what order now. You get it? Order today, order now, buy now, but our own is on choose plan. When you click choose plan, it will take you to where you search for your domain name. Domain name in the sense that we have discussed about this in our previous video, because you can't just pick a domain name and someone has got it somewhere else. Therefore, you need to search for it. Like now, I'm going to make use of what let host, but I'm not going to use .com and .com.ng because I've made use of it. I'm going to make use of what .net. When you click search, it's going to load and search the whole globe whether it has been used. Like now, my um, .com .net is 48, and at the same time, this company .com.ng is what 1001, and the .com though it's not available because someone is using it. Now, when it's available, the next thing you need to do is what go down and click continue. When you click continue, it takes you to where you pick what because you have clicked on starter package. You now decide what your billing cycle. Do you want what monthly, quarterly, semi, like that. If you pick per annually or 2 years, is what we're going to have three domain. But I'm going to pick what the annual, which is 1 year, and after that, this will refresh itself. It's still loading, but I may not be able to wait for it. It's going to load for this thing to calculate that okay, this person has picked what for 1 year, which is 4,000. But in this particular site, we have what is site log, which is this one that I tried to show you the other time. Connection is secure and it's free. Automatica is 57 unless you are going for the higher one, that is 1,000 a year. Click continue. And now when you click continue, it's going to take you toward the domain configuration area. You need to pick what the DNS, and we're going to discuss about DNS later on. But email forwarding, if you didn't pick what email forwarding, you'll not be able to send email for you'll be able to create email, but you'll not be able to send email. People will not be able to send email to this. Or if they send to it, it may not work, or if you send out, it may not work. Therefore, you need to what? Pick that. Now click continue. When you click continue, it's now going to calculate your domain name price and your your hosting price and what your domain name price. Click checkout. At this checkout, that is where you need to fill all the right details, like fill your first name, your last name, and other information that needed. You need to pick what your payment system. You want to pay through bank transfer, Paystack, and Rave. If time permits, we're going to talk about all these online payment. Rave and Paystack are process of you using your ATM card to make payment online. And just fill the right detail. But for me, I'll click already register, and let me see whether I still remember my email. Let me put my password, and so I'm going to delete this later on for this class practice. I'm going to just use it, and after that I'll just click what complete order. When you complete order, this order will automatically be sent to what to the hosting company. The hosting company will seal your order, and as you pick bank transfer, an invoice will be sent to your email. This invoice is going to show the account number of the organization where you pay to, and at the same time, if you pick what this pay stub is going to show other details. Depending on the time this is loading, okay, it has finished uploading. An invoice will be sent to you, but this is what an unpaid invoice, and you can see the account number you are meant to pay to. Though you don't mind this logo, but in the invoice you get, you're not going to see that kind of thing. You can download the invoice from here, and when you download it, you see how it's going to look here. Okay, it's loaded. You can see on pay. This is what the logo and other information about what your order. But in this area, you can now decide you want to change the payment method. When you change it, automatically it's going to redirect and show what a pay button. Like now, this one now is redirecting. You can see the pay button for Paystack, like that, like that. This is just the process of ordering. Now you still have the ability to pay with what Paystack, but when you change to what Rave, automatically it's going to load to what Rave payment system. Okay, it's now showing the button for Rave. Now it's taking you to Rave to make payment. But for this, we are not making payment. You can see the amount. The amount you're supposed to pay is 4,800. Rave add what extra 123 naira 20 kobo. Okay, we'll discuss more about this later on. This is just a little process of what hosting your site. Thank you for watching this video. See you in our next lesson.